Welcome to day 345 of the New Way. Yesterday we looked at the women's encounter with angels and with Jesus at the tomb on their way. We don't know where. There was chaos, there was confusion, and there was incredible joy. Now I'll read Matthew 28, 11 through 15. While the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and reported to the chief priest everything that had happened. When the chief priest had met with the elders and devised a plan, they gave the soldiers a large sum of money, telling them, "You are to say, his disciples came during the night and stole him away while we were asleep. If this report gets to the governor, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble." So the soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed, and this story has been widely circulated among the Jews to this very day. There's something you need to know about Roman law. If a guard let a prisoner escape, the guard would be given the prisoner's punishment. If the prisoner was to be crucified, well, let's just say that this made for some really good soldiers. Rome didn't usually have a problem with escapees. Now we have here an entire guard or watch of soldiers who let their dead prisoner escape. Remember that the last thing we heard about the soldiers is when the angel appeared at the tomb. Let's review what the scripture says happened. I'll reread Matthew 28, 2 through 4. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. So now the guards have revived, and they have a dilemma on their hands. Their dead prisoner has escaped. They apparently decided it was safer to go to the chief priest than to Pilate. I believe Pilate would have ordered their immediate execution. Let's review just a little further back. I'll reread Matthew 27, 62 through 66. The next day, the one after preparation day, the chief priest and the Pharisees went to Pilate. "Sir," they said, "we remember that while he was still alive, that deceiver said, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' So give the order for the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day. Otherwise his disciples may come and steal the body and tell the people that he has been raised from the dead. This last deception will be worse than the first." "Take a guard," Pilate answered. "Go, make the tomb as secure as you know how." So they went and made the tomb secure by putting a seal on the stone and posting the guard. Why did the chief priest and elders want a Roman guard in the first place? Because they were afraid that the disciples would steal the body and falsely claim that Jesus had resurrected from the dead. Now let's look at today's passage again. I'll reread Matthew 28, 11 through 15. While the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and reported to the chief priest everything that had happened. When the chief priest had met with the elders and devised a plan, they gave the soldiers a large sum of money, telling them, "You are to say, 'His disciples came during the night and stowed him away while we were asleep.' If this report gets to the governor, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble." So the soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed, and this story has been widely circulated among the Jews to this very day. The chief priest and the council decided that they would say that the disciples had stolen the body so they could falsely claim that Jesus had risen from the dead. Then they paid the soldiers hush money to tell this lie. They also promised to protect the soldiers if Pilate heard the lie and was going to punish them for failing in their duty. We don't know what happened to this guard of Roman soldiers. This is the last we hear about them. But we know that there were several Roman soldiers who became part of the early church. I wonder if some of them were guarding the tomb that morning that Jesus rose from the dead. Now, just in case you are wondering, there's no way that the disciples would have tried to steal the body of Jesus. Number one, they were sure he was dead. Number two, they were scared to death that they would be crucified next. Number three, they were no match for this Roman guard. Remember, Peter couldn't even successfully wield a sword. And number four, why would they want his dead body that represented the end of their Messiah? All of their hopes and dreams were dead. But the lie satisfied some and still occasionally comes up today. And that completes the report of Jesus' resurrection that happened on that very first Easter morning. Of course, it wasn't called Easter until much later. We'll continue to discuss Jesus' appearances during the next 40 days. Jesus' resurrection is the reason that most followers of Jesus worship on Sunday instead of Saturday, and they call it the Lord's Day. In his service, Dale.